All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. It's Jenny Heckman here with Jenny's Tattle Tales and with Andrea Florescu. And today we have Joanna Walden. She's a coach, speaker, conscious visionary, and author of the book, The Inside Hustle, a mystical misfits travel adventure into the unknown. And I love how you've crossed out the and now you're known. So that's pretty cool. Well, welcome so much, Joanna. Really pleasure for you to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, so I guess, and I should say you're in New Zealand, so that's, and you've got beautiful weather going on there, and we're sitting here in the cold. So I'm
supposedly we have a snowstorm coming later.
It's exciting to see you in short sleeves. It's awesome. Okay, I really am intrigued by this book. I think it kind of is, just sounds like it's been such an adventure for you. And I guess I wanted to really just kind of start with, where did this journey of the book kind of begin? You know, why this book? Why now? You know, and tell us what happened here.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know anything about me, my background is actually in advertising. Oh. And I was working in advertising in New Zealand, and when I was doing my degree, I did a little stint in Melbourne in Australia, and then after that I got a job in New York. So I was working in New York for quite a few years, and even though I was quite good at advertising, I really felt like that wasn't really what my heart really wanted to do, really. And I had been writing like tons of stuff for years, and I guess at that point I really didn't think that I was going to write a book. That was not really on my radar. Yeah. And I actually left New York to go to London because I was so burnt out on that New York treadmill. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the New York lifestyle, but it's not for the faint-hearted. And and I mean, I really worked my ass off, and it was great. But the thing is, I just kind of got burnt out, and I really wanted to give myself the chance to explore other avenues of what my career could be. And so I left to go to London because, being a New Zealander, we have a relationship with the UK. It means you can get a visa and go there and work for a while. And I was sort of running out of time. That opportunity was going to close its window when you get to a certain age. So I went off to do that. But in between, I went and hiked the Camino to Santiago, the ancient pilgrim path through the north of Spain, because I'd read a book by Shirley MacLaine, who said that it was this incredible sort of recalibrating journey, that she discovered all these different parts of herself. It followed the ley lines in like the Milky Way galaxy, which basically corresponded with this path, and then you would get like zapped and realigned with all this amazing energy and experiences on this ancient pilgrim path. And I sort of was like, well, if Shirley's had the answers there, then I'm going to go and do it. And so I basically went off in between, you know, like in my gap in like my jobs, took myself off to Spain. And I'm not a hiker, by the way. Like I had not done any multi-day hikes my whole entire life. And suddenly there I was in Spain with a backpack and taking off and just not even really knowing what I was doing or where I was going. But what I did is I wrote my little stories every couple of days. And this is back in the day before social media, by the way. So I was emailing them out to my list every couple of days. And I was getting such a great response. People were really loving it, and they were reading it out to people at the office and following my journey. And anyway, and a lot of people had said to me after that, you know, you should really write a book. That was really hilarious.
Yeah.
And so that was in the back of my mind, but I was sort of just like, no. And I was in London and just exploring different ways of maybe I could extend my career into this. And I was sort of working in the same vicinity, really. And I was just sort of doing different bits here and there, but it was really the same, and I was getting the same results, and I wasn't really that happy. And then I got to a point where I just was like, you know what, maybe I just need to write about my adventures, because I wanted to do something that was more where my passion was, which is more in that world of like consciousness, energy, spirit healing. You know, I'd been studying holistic therapy and doing all sorts of exploration, and none of it had really landed for me. And so I think it was literally sort of my last sort of like, I don't really know what to do, so I'm just going to write this book and see what happens.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love it. I love it. The whole premise. Yeah. I'm going to put a little pause here. Do you hear that little squeak that's going on?
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
It happens.
might be the cicadas here in New Zealand. The
okay. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't our microphone or doing.
I'm gonna try to remove the background noise when I edit it.
Perfect.
So.
Perfect. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I think it's the cicadas. It's the height of summer, and
kind of sounds really loud. We had them in Illinois. When we lived in Illinois, we had cicadas. And
that's happy. I love that. That's great. That's great energy. Okay. Yeah, so that is really fascinating. I love this journey. It's kind of almost very
when I saw the Camino de Santiago, I'm like, we have to talk about it.
We're gonna be talking about that pretty soon. But it is very much that kind of adventurous kind of trail that Cheryl did, in Wild. So that's really, really cool. And I find that amazing when you talk to somebody who is so out of their element, and now they're going to go and step into, hiking. I'm not a hiker either. So, I mean, I can totally envision that and appreciate how that must have been such a challenge and just mind-blowing. So we are going to...
Yeah, it's over 500 miles, like, to put it in your terms. I think it's kind of crazy long. And I really, I was wearing sparkling earrings and colorful tops, and I didn't have any of that. And the thing about it was that, I had intended to kind of go and be enlightened and find the answers, and the whole journey, it was like a comedy of errors, and it turned into the complete opposite of what I was looking for. So, I sort of describe it as sort of like Bridget Jones meets Eat, Pray, Love on steroids, because it's that real comedy of errors. That's quite and it, being this amazing, spiritually enlightening experience, it was more like a booze cruise on legs. I mean, it was like...
I love it so much. You need to come to Seattle. Oh, okay. So my next question is, kind of this, I read on your bio that you had this mystical experience in childhood. And is this how you kind of got started? How did you change from whatever this is that happened to you in childhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was always naturally in tune with nature around me, and like this fact that there was, sort of these unseen realms that I might be interacting with. And I was just always fascinated by that stuff. And my mum is very sort of spiritual, open-minded. So I grew up in that environment with my dad, not at all, the complete opposite. He was sort of like eye rolling and being like, oh God, what is she going on about now to my mum? And I mean, I guess I'm sort of the like literal and true hybrid. Like, I've been in the business career and I know what I'm doing there, but I'm also got this other side to me. It's very much in line with that. And so, and when I was a teenager, I just started having these experiences. Like, my mum was doing like Qigong in the lounge, which is kind of like a Tai Chi, or like, a form of kind of like energy movement thing. And I saw her beautiful aura, and I was just like, wow. And I was like to my boyfriend, like, can you see that? That's amazing. And he was like, no. And then, different things would happen that would kind of save me from getting into trouble when I was naughty and in my teenage years and acting out a little bit. And I would have these visions that would save me from getting into trouble. And so, so it was pretty funny. But then, I just diverted into the really traditional, you need to get a business degree because otherwise you're not going to make enough money to survive. Instead of, I was very artistic as well. I was really literally that sort of very balanced, very artistic, and also really great at English and stuff. But, and so I really was, I guess I just decided to make this call that wasn't really in my heart. Yeah. And I guess then that's reflected back when I'm sort of in corporate career and I'm sort of feeling really unfulfilled, so that was really, and the battle that I had with myself along my way in this whole journey of me trying to figure out more of my purpose and doing things that are more aligned with my heart and my soul was really a whole part of my kind of motivation, I guess, for writing the book, because I wanted to help other people who might be going through a similar thing. That's
really, really nice. It is kind of enviable people that kind of figure it out really, really early and know what they want to do and can follow along that path. And then you've got me and other, other people who, it's a little bit of a struggle. You're trying to find your way and you're trying to find out what your purpose is and those kinds of things. So this is really, really cool. I'm very interested in learning more about this. This is really neat.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, okay, you were talking about the aura thing. That is something that has always really, really interested me too. And I'm always, I guess, kind of interested in, well, you've talked about, I think I've read in your bio here about mediumship too. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Laura Lynn Jackson and any of her kinds of things, but she talks about signs and how you can read your own signs and how you can read, auras and those kinds of things. So we went to Belize just a couple of months ago, and my best friend Debbie and I went and got our auras read and had so much fun talking with this Belizean lady about it. It was fascinating. She said mine was pink. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but anyway, I find this all very, very fascinating. So, and I'm assuming that in your book, you do kind of go into those kinds of things. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I go, my book, a lot of people sort of say did this really happen, Joe? Did this actually really happen in real life? Because it's literally feels like fiction because it's so, I go on all of these adventures and have these hilarious sort of comedic experiences. And then I am taking people along the journey of an exploration of all this stuff, because I sort of felt also like I wanted to give people a window into experiences that they may not go and investigate on their own. And I just thought it would be interesting to open that up to people to see. So some of it is really out there.
Yeah.
Like I meet a shaman in Argentina who communes with ETs in spaceships 3 times a week when they show up on a Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Every week, it's like clockwork.
Yeah, they have a schedule. And then, like I was in Brazil at this, quite controversial trance channel medium, and he was slicing people open on stage and pulling out tumors from their spine and their stomach and all sorts of stuff, like, well, they're under spiritual anesthetic.
Wow.
I mean, it's really, really quite out there, like,
yeah,
really,
some of it, yeah.
And,
wow.
When I got back to New Zealand, I had other sorts of different energetic experiences and adventures. And I really love bringing in that otherworldly stuff or stuff from the unseen realms. I mean, all of the science is backing up now that, like, we're all energy and all that. So people are kind of cottoning on a little bit more, and it's not so like far out and crazy to think that there's a whole other layer that's going on that maybe we're not tuning into all the time, And so it can be really, really exciting. And I find it's so fun, and that really triggers my adventurous, because I'm always inspired to see what else is out there in the different layers of reality, and what adventure I'm going to be taken on next, just by following my heart and my intuition and it guiding me. And it's taken me all around the world to all these places, and I just really trust and follow where I'm meant to go.
Yeah. Well, and traveling, I mean, and going to different places too, that's inspiring all on its own as well. I mean, the history, and you kind of soak up all of that. And, really, this is everywhere. It's not just in one country or one place. It's, you can find it anywhere. So that's enlightening and inspiring as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think that if you're a little bit spiritual like she is, and my understanding is that we all are, but some of us are more aware of these than others. That's at least my friend Rebecca said. She's kind of, I don't know if she's exactly like you, but she's spiritual too. She's into energy healing and frequencies and all those things. So
yeah.
She talked to me a lot about it. But she says that everybody has this. It's just, we are more, some of the people, not us, because I'm not aware of mine. Some people are more open to connect with, the side of them.
Well, I can see where a lot of people, they go on their day, they go to work, and they want to deal in reality, or they want to they want to have their foot firmly planted on the ground, and maybe they're not going to be awakened to something like that, because it is something that you have to kind of really think about and get your mind into that space.
My husband is like her dad. I mean, it doesn't matter. I've known my friend Rebecca for 5 years now, and we talk daily, except the last few months, which there are a lot of things that happen. We're still friends. It's just life, things that we cannot control, and so we don't see each other that often, but we still talk once a week. And every time me and her, we would talk about these things, you would see my husband like, oh, this is what it was all the time.
There's a lot of eye rolling that goes on, and then like, oh, she's a little cray cray or whatever. But no, I've had enough experiences of my own to trust and know it for myself. And then people who don't even class themselves as spiritual or whatever. I mean, I think it's a bit of a dirty word, the whole spiritual thing, to be honest. And I struggled with, really wanting to go fully into it in my book and wanting to pull out so that people weren't put off by it, because it's really a bit of a loaded word and it's got a bit of a dirty name a little bit,
It is, but I feel like people are more open now than like 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is really interesting, because it's funny with the book, I really, I've been working on it for quite a while. I had, I worked on it in between, like things happened in my life, like you were talking about, like my dad got sick and passed away. So that year I didn't write a thing, and stuff happened. And then I ebbed in and out of like this writing and what this book was really going to be. And towards the end, I was really frustrated that I hadn't got it out sooner. In my mind, I felt like I was 2 years late. Why was I procrastinating? Why was this dragging on? And then everything kept getting delayed in the process. Like the editing was twice as long as it was going to be.
I know about that.
Proofreading, suddenly all the changes got lost and I had to start all over again. And it was just this, like, there was just all of these things that were delay. And the funniest part about the whole thing was that finally, when the COVID hit last year, right in March, and suddenly I was in lockdown, and suddenly my book was like ready to go. And even though I didn't have the physical copies here and hadn't printed them to bring to New Zealand, but the ebook was ready to go. And I was suddenly like, oh my goodness. And I realized that was a far better timing for my book than if I had wanted to publish it when I did 2 years ago, because people were really at a time of reevaluating everything they'd ever known. They were willing to be open to other perspectives, and other ways of living their life, and everything is being shaken up. And it was really, really fascinating. So I sort of was like, oh, I get it now.
I mean, you've written this book about the energy and things coming to you and everything, and you just got taught your own lesson. That's pretty awesome.
Basically, I was trying to control things. It was not happening. So it was really fascinating to go through that process. And I think also because it is an energetic book and it's got this writing that's quite poetic through the chapters, that it doesn't come from my personality self. It's not the story that I was writing and the rest of it. It's from a completely different place. And, when you're writing a book like that and you're also writing a deep story about your personal evolution and you're putting your everything out there, your dirty laundry for people to see, your innermost, darkest fears and insecurities and all of that stuff, I think that's why it also took so long for me to really work through it, because it was just really hard to write a lot of it. And also then go over and reread it all. But, without that, that's the stuff that people are really resonating with and relating to, because I have been so raw and honest about it. So
I think people appreciate honesty. I think they appreciate understanding that somebody has gone through something and they know what they're talking about. I think it lends an air of legitimacy about it, that, it's not a sterile, kind of process. It's this thing that has happened and you can relate. And I think that that's very legitimizing, to do something like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you could pick one single most important thing you can do or if you were to give advice to somebody, the single most important thing you can do to connect with your energy field, because this is about energy, I believe, that we're talking about, right? I'm going to read your book because I am fascinated. But I have not read it yet. So
yeah, of course.
I don't know, but is there something? Do you follow a rubrics? Is there something that you do?
I do my work very intuitively, and I truly believe that everybody is working with their own individual blueprint. So they need to connect in a way that is beneficial for them, really, or work it out. Almost, you've got to work out the way your own Rubik's Cube unlocks in a way, but the one thing that I've been really guided towards is something called heart technology, and other people are starting to talk about it in the personal transformation field as well. But this is a powerhouse that we're sitting on here. It's like, and it's not just this physical beating thing that is in the center of our chest, it's not at all. It's like, It's actually this energetic powerhouse that has amazing capabilities. And when we start getting more connected to this, it really unlocks our own wisdom. It unlocks our own capacity to vision for our future and connect with more of like what we want to bring in for ourselves. And it actually, when we start connecting into the heart more, when we do that, it's called coming into heart coherence. It basically, it pulls you out of your head, and a lot of people get tangled in this energy up here, right? So it really pulls you down and makes you feel more embodied, and B, it just brings you into resonance with your heart more. And so what happens when we do that is it starts to harmonize your energy centers, and it starts to harmonize the body, because your body wants to be in resonance all the time. It wants to be in this beautiful harmonic. And when we get stressed, and when we, have challenges that we're reacting to, or, when we're feeling emotionally unbalanced, then that is, creating a territory in the body and in our energy fields that is all off kilter, right? Yeah. So the beautiful thing about getting in touch with your heart is it can be really, really easy. All you need to do is focus your attention here, and then you can even just put a hand here. And then you just think uplifting positive thoughts. So you're creating, so you could even just think about a fluffy little duckling if you wanted to, or you think about a pet, or you think about someone you love or a place you love, and you just sit there and you foster for a few minutes while you're breathing in and out slowly, because that calms the nervous system. And that immediately gets you into, you just do this for, like 7 breaths or so, and you're already in a changed state of being. And I love it because it's quick. You can pretty much do it anywhere. You could run to the bathroom or work and do this for a few minutes if you were needing to. And I feel a visceral effect of my energy moving from here to here. And I feel instantly more calmer and connected to myself when I do that. So that's one of my all-time favorite go-to techniques, I guess, So kind of
imagination, but also the breath, trying to get those two in sync.
So it's like bringing your attention to your heart area, and whatever way you do with it. I like putting a hand there. It just makes it feel more integrated for me. And then it's literally, slowing down the breath in and out, so you calm your nervous system. And then you just thinking and visualizing and feeling. You feel these uplifting emotions, like you feel the joy of looking at a cute little fluffy duckling or a mama with her ducks, or you feel the joy of when you hugged like a puppy that you may have had when you were a child, or you feel a really touching memory that's your favorite person in the world. And as you do that, you just foster those uplifting feelings, and that completely starts to integrate with the rest of your field, because these expanded frequencies, these expanded emotions, not contracted ones, are the ones that are most beneficial for our health and well-being overall.
Okay. Yeah, I love that.
I
love that. So you mentioned about Camino Santiago, and I also know that you have hiked Mount Kilimanjaro, which, holy cow, both are very, very inspiring. You said you're not a hiker, but did you just say, I'm going to do this one day, or did you, what prompted you? I know you said you wanted to go in and have this transformational experience, but was it just being stuck in the job, wanting to try something new, wanting to break through? What was it that made you go do these things?
That's a good question. Definitely when I was leaving New York to go to London, I was looking for answers elsewhere, and I was looking to have a life-changing experience that was going to really put me on my path, but whereas Kilimanjaro, I'd been in London for quite some years, and I was still, even though I'd experimented with this and that and explored this and this, and I'd done everything I could to sort of try and propel myself into a new career or a new area, and nothing was really landing or coming together, despite all the work I was doing. And so I think at one point it was literally like midlife crisis, like I'm just going to go and hike this mountain because I'm not sure. I think I thought maybe the physical challenge will help me feel, but maybe raising money for the orphans in Africa will make me feel the sense of fulfillment I was looking for. Maybe going and having this adventurous experience in Africa is gonna do it, but it also didn't really do it. It doesn't have that really deep sense of fulfillment that I've had since launching the book and getting all the amazing feedback from the readers about how it's helping them shift and change and evolve. And even though it's about my journey, they connect in with their own journey on a much deeper level and their own self. And that was the whole point. So that has been when I've actually found that deeply fulfilling sense that I'd been looking for all along, up mountains and through Spain and like all this kind of also outside of myself, a lot of it. But yeah, so it's quite interesting the way it worked out.
And did you quit your job and leave everything kind of behind to go do those things, or did you do that in conjunction with working in your day job and those kinds of things? Did you just take breaks, or did you?
I did both. So when I knew that Spain was going to be to hike that, it takes about a month. So I knew that I needed to be in between a job to do that, and it worked out completely. So I just tied that in there, and then. And then, when I did Kilimanjaro, that was definitely a break from work. I was in full-time work, and all the exploration and experimentation I was doing, I was doing writing courses, I was studying holistic therapy, I was, going to all these classes and all sorts of stuff. That was definitely in line with my job. I was doing both at the same time.
Okay.
And so it was definitely a bit of a mixture. But then, I took off and went to South America to write the book, and I took off from my career to have a career break then as well, because that was when I decided to write the book, and I wanted more material to put in the book. So I was going on a journey to do that as part of that trip. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Now this is going to be a little bit hard. Let's see, what was the most transformational moment for you? You said you kind of didn't have the big transformational moment, but what was the more inspiring moment on standing on top of that mountain? I'm assuming would be pretty inspiring. Was it just a sense of accomplishment, or did you have was there ever a moment of just like, oh wow, or was it just all, oh shit, this is just really.
Well, I think that everybody wants that Moses on the mountain moment where life-changing thing, and it didn't really work like that in my experience, and I know for a lot of other people it doesn't really work like that either, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
But the shift and change and transformation really came for me when I started deepening my relationship with myself, because I started to realize that it wasn't all out here in the exterior what was the problem. It was actually me on various different levels within myself, things like self-doubt and a lot of self-criticism, and not trusting myself, and in a way I was like really tuned in, but I wasn't really necessarily embodying that, and I was kind of flinging between different states of being quite a lot. So there was a lot of push-pull energy going on within me, and that was actually holding me back from everything, and my own relationship with myself was holding me back from everything. So I think when I really started understanding that, and when I started understanding that a lot of the stuff that I was exploring out in that spiritual realm and in the spiritual community, I feel like I was really looking for the answers there, and I realized they didn't really have the answers. And also some of it was sort of like outdated material, that why it wasn't working for me, it wasn't because I was broken or I was doing it wrong. It was actually because that's just an outdated form for me, where I'm at as a being and in my consciousness and in my progression and stuff, so I was confused, I think, about what I was meant to be experiencing, and as opposed to what that really looked and felt like for me, and when I started just working with myself and actually tapping into my own wisdom, getting myself into my own alignment, being able to access other parts of myself, then everything else opened up.
Yeah. Now, I bet if you were to go and do those experiences again, you probably would get a little bit, it probably would be a little bit more of those kinds of moments, maybe. What what would you say is the biggest thing you want to get across to people with your book? Is it don't look without, look within? Is that the biggest message?
It's like, if you're putting any kind of, if you're putting more, if you're giving anything more power over yourself, or giving anything more authority over yourself, that is really disempowering to your own self.
Yeah.
And all these little ways that I was disempowering myself, and that adds up to not really moving forward in the direction you want, and being confused, full of self-doubt and criticism, and all that stuff just keeps going on because you're doing all these things to disempower yourself. So it's just like adding to your own situation, rather than doing things to yourself that support and love yourself through it. And so you know, I really, I wanted to just inspire people to be able to look at their life in a different kind of way and deeper way and look through the layers. And also just to give people a sense of not having to, you know, find the one thing that was going to fix them or change them or whatever, knowing that, bringing the awareness that we are already these amazing, perfect beings, and that, you know, everything we're doing is just uncovering and remembering that within ourselves, which is a completely different stance to, you know, oh, I'm broken, I need to get somewhere. It's, you know, when you undo all that and you bring a different kind of point of view to it and a different stance, then it's much more empowering, as I said. And so I really wanted to gift that to people, because where I got tripped up in the journey, I didn't want other people to get tripped up, you know.
Yeah.
And it is true that all the answers are within, and it is true that the way we treat ourselves is incredibly important. And, you know, it is true that we will never lead ourselves astray as long as we just sit and trust the softer voice, the small little things that are going on within us, not what this is saying all the time. And if we really start to access these more intimate and sensitive layers of our being, then that's really where all the magic lies. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. Love it. Okay, so well, I guess the last question that I have for you is there anything that you would like to say to the readers out there, or potential readers, or anything that any information that you'd like to share? Last thoughts?
Well, I think, you know, I guess, and this is my book, and for people who haven't seen it before, that's what it looks like. And it's, you know, it's quite, not only have I done courageous things in my life, but it took a lot of courage to write this book and put the kind of intimacy that I was putting in there out there. But it's also incredibly funny. Like, I mean, I really make fun of myself. So it's not boring, and it's kind of wild. Like, I'm not going to lie, it's a little wild. So, you know, I really just encourage other people to put themselves out there in a way, because I tell you what, being vulnerable like this has actually meant, like, you know, a beautiful connection. It's helped other people, my vulnerability. And I'd really encourage other people, not only to, when they're reading it, to tap into that part of themselves and allow them to be open to shifts and changes that they might not have, you know, perceived that were available to them before, or not maybe understood. But yeah, just be courageous in your own life and go and try new things, and go, you know, I know it's tricky right now in the current situation in the world, but, you know, it doesn't mean that, you know, you can't just do that in your own little world or circle or neighborhood that you're living in or what have you. But yeah, get yourself out there and just be courageous, because there's somebody else who might need that courage and inspiration, and it can help others as well. That
is really good. That's so good. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big, huge, blown out, expensive, extravagant thing. It can be a
you don't have to climb a mountain and then regret it when you're at the top.
Big changes can come in very little small experiences too. So yeah,
that's exactly right. And I've got to say, you know, on that point, I sort of touched on this a little before, but it is all of these tiny little changes and tweaks that we do that actually brings about full monumental change. It's not like the Moses on the mountain, not the life-changing thing, at least for me. Some people have that, but for a lot of people they don't. And it's just these tiny little tweaks and changes you can do on a day-to-day basis that delivers change and long-lasting change. And that's what, you know, a lot of people want to change and they don't know how. And I guess that's what where my expertise comes in with transformation, and through all of the stuff that I've done, it weighs into the work I now do with clients. And, you know, I'm working on a step-by-step version of the process for my next book, actually, like a workbook to go with that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so that's what's coming up next for you. Then you're going to put out something new, like it's kind of like a companion kind of book or something.
Exactly. Okay. So that people can, you know, because people are like, wow, they come to me after wanting to work with me, which is great. But I sort of thought, if I could put something out there that's, you know, not me having to do one-to-one work all the time, but just take people through a sort of 12-week process of transformation, which is my signature kind of transformation course that came out of all this, which was actually inspired by my old advertising career, by the way.
Oh,
never would have thought that was possible. But some of the tools I used in advertising, I've been marrying with all of the other energetic, spiritual transformation, change, personal development stuff. And it's birthed this sort of process that I work with people one-on-one with, but that I now want to put into more of a DIY format that gives a lot of other people access to. So don't discount all of the things you've already done that will, you know, will potentially weigh into where you're going, because it absolutely 100% did for me.
Oh, that's so great. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you, and you're very inspiring, and I am going to go and get your book. I am going to read it. I think you're a very powerful, impactful person. So that's really, really cool. And thank you so much for joining us today and hanging out with us. You're all the way in New Zealand. So, I mean, how far ahead are you? What time is it there?
Well, for starters, it's Friday, and I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. I'm from the future.
You're transporting from the future.
Friday morning at 10:45 a.m. So
10:45.
I'm well in the future.
They say from the future, it's really true, especially on New Year's.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah,
they're still celebrating, or they're celebrating, and we're still on the last day of the
year. Well, thank you very much. Again, it's Joanna Walden, and her book is The Inside Hustle, and you can hook up with her there on joannawalden.com. And again, thank you very, very much for coming on and inspiring us. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you again.
Have a wonderful, wonderful Friday.
Well.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye. There we go.